Hello everyone, my name is GamerZach and welcome back to Dev Q&A for Ara History Untold. We still have a ton of content headed your way, so be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell to stay updated with our latest Encarta episodes, dev diaries, and other post-launch offerings. In today's video, we've gathered more questions from you, our wonderful community, so please keep those coming. And joining us once again is Xbox Game Studio executive producer Matt Turnbull. Matt, welcome back to the show. How have reactions been to the new 1.1 update?
Thanks so much, Zach. It's really great to see you again, as always, and really appreciate you having me back. It's been so awesome to see people's reactions to 1.1, honestly. With the Invisible Hand update, we added a number of big features, including the national economy screen. We answered a ton of things about player feedback, about things like game pacing, and exposed more opportunities for players to be able to modify things on their own as well. So it's been really gratifying to see that people are jumping in. People who had left the game early on and decided to come back later have been jumping back in now and playing it, and we've been really excited about the reaction, about the positive vibes that we're getting from the community on it. We know there's still a lot of great stuff we can add to the game. There's still a ton of amazing ideas out there and a lot of things we're still working on. A ton of stuff coming even later this year, which I can't really talk about right now, but I'm still really excited about. But it's been really, really nice and really good to see that people are having a lot of fun with the game and that we're having a lot of fun playing it and continuing to make stuff for everybody.
Well, we have a lot of excited Ara fans out there, so let's dive in and hopefully answer some questions. First, we have a question from Acer3573 on YouTube who asks, can you view the map seed after the game has started, not just at the generation screen? If not, that should be added.
Man, that's a good idea. We definitely should look into that. It's a really smart call. We added a few different things to try to make sure the players still had access to that info. There's a little copy button next to it, so when you first start a new game, if you go to your advanced generation options for the map, you can copy the seed down. I tend to put in my own seeds almost every game, and I'll always copy them off, just in case I get a map that I really love. I also tend to sneak them into my save game names, just so I have access to them. But to be honest, it's just a really good call that we should include that somewhere in the save file data or somewhere. So we will definitely look into that. And always, please keep cool suggestions, feature ideas, feedback coming on the Discord, on the forums, because we're constantly listening to those types of things. And, the 1.1 update was really a reflection of what everybody had been asking for and been giving us feedback on. So feedback like this is a gift, and we really appreciate it.
All right, that was a good suggestion. Keep them coming. Our next question comes from VHG Laram on our Insider Forums, who asks, since mod support is on version 1.1, how do I create my own mods? How do I become a modder? Where can I find that information, or how do I start?
Can anyone really become a modder, or are you born a modder, Is it in your heart? No, I think we're all modders there in the PC gaming community. I know I am. I know a lot of people on the team are creating mods for the game. In order to create mods in Ara History Untold, honestly, the first thing you do is you go into your settings and you enable mods. We have a beta modding feature in there where you can just enable it, and then it tells you what folder to put stuff into. The game's been designed with modability from the start. There's a programming language there, a scripting language called ZData. Almost all of the game's information about the different buildings, the different units, the different leaders, everything is in that ZData and in those ZData files and can be edited in most simple text editing software. The main thing I would say, though, if you really want to get into modding for this game and you really want to get into messing around with all of the different statistics and make your own best version of the game for yourself, is to hit the Discord. Come join us on the Ara History Untold Discord. It's located in the server discovery. You can just search for Ara History Untold on Discord, or there are links to it from various places on our website, forums, etc. But hit the Discord, check out the modding folder. There are guides in there. There are tons of example mods people are sharing back and forth. There are people from the dev team at their own mods that they've created. So there's just a lot of great information in there. So I would highly recommend that. And then I would also just kind of hint that you should stay tuned for some more modding news and info coming a little bit later this year, which we're really excited to share, but I can't talk about yet.
All right, you know where to start. Get started. Next, we have a question from HPerk209 who asks, increase city cap with the eras? As more players get booted throughout the game, the map empties and there ends up being huge amounts of unused space. By era 2, I've already maxed my city count, and through war, I'm almost always an empire. Increasing the cap at each era, regardless of government, would allow some of that empty space to be absorbed. this would be especially helpful for late game resources like uranium, oil, etc.
This is, again, great feedback. I really appreciate it. Definitely see how people are playing the game and how they're enjoying it, and how on the different sizes of maps especially, as well as the different pacing, now that we've added these new pacing options, it really does change the dynamic in terms of how the city cap plays. What I will say is that city cap is primarily defined by your government type, and the governments are, like everything else in the game, highly moddable as well. And so we're excited to give players the power to be able to go in and adjust those on the government types as they want to, in order to be able to test out these things for themselves. But beyond that, we're continuing to look at the pacing of this and how the city cap expands over time, and whether or not an arbitrary jump or an artificial jump that happens at an act break makes the most sense, or if it's more about balancing some of the later game governments and how that balances out. But if you have feedback or thoughts on that, again, share them on the forums, share them on the Discord. The team's always listening, always engaging with people and trying to figure out what the right thing to do is there. But there's a lot of different ways of kind of balancing that. And so the biggest thing is, if you want to change it, it's actually not that hard to do it for yourself right now, just by adjusting some of those governments caps within the ZData files.
All right, so you can just try it yourself, see how it feels. Our next question comes from Lalbero on our Insider forums, who wrote, "My victories are always religious, but why? I've played several games on Duke difficulty, and I keep winning them as a religious leader, even though I do not intend to. I don't build religious buildings, and religion is only a minor source of prestige relative to my industry, science, and other categories. Why is this? I would like to win a science or military one. How do I do so?"
That's really interesting. Honestly, within ARA, we don't really think of victories as being, directly poised to one specific state like religion, or one specific thing like science or industry or conquering the world. There are some ways in which the game can end early if you do things like wipe out every other nation on the planet. But in general, we think of it more as a generalized prestige victory, right? The game is about generating as much prestige as you can. And what we found through the telemetry built into the game and some of our understanding from players is that we're seeing a pretty good spread of places where people are getting their prestige from. Right now, we're seeing maybe a little bit lopsided towards industry, a little bit more prestige coming from industry, a little bit less from commerce. And so some of the upcoming updates for things like trade and diplomacy are designed to try to help target that, to help balance it out further. But what we found is that depending on the leader that you play, the source of prestige, you'll end up with different types of victories or different types of approaches to that. But at the end of the day, the important thing is to recognize that this game isn't really a game where you have one kind of victory or one method. It really is about running a holistic nation, having a nation that has a lot of different things running in a lot of different ways. And especially as you move past into the higher difficulties past Duke, your sources of prestige have to get more varied and more diverse. Otherwise, you won't be able to continue to keep up with the AI, especially in those later eras. And so that idea of a single source or a singular strategy tends to start to get harder and harder as you ramp up the difficulty.
And finally, we have a question from Bulldog on Steam, who asked, "Is there a way to build more than one museum? I have all sorts of artwork, but there's not enough buildings to display it."
So we're always adding more improvements to the game. There are a few improvements out there that allow you to display artworks in addition to the museum, but it's true that right now you're generating more masterpieces than you have places to put them. And that's something that we definitely are looking at for our 1.2 patch and future patches as well, to try to figure out ways of giving players more places to show off their works. That said, the other thing we're trying to do is ensure that that's something that's going to be moddable in the near future, and so that players will have the ability to adjust that themselves as well as per their interests. But beyond that, we really want to make sure that the game's paced in such a way that you're not generating, dozens of Mona Lisas and then just having to stack them all in a closet somewhere. So we really want to make sure that you have that opportunity to show off your cool artwork that you make from your Paragons. And so we are working on it as we speak, and we'll keep you in the loop.
Thank you so much for joining us, Matt. Is there anything you'd like to say to the fans before you go?
Honestly, I just want to say thanks again so much for joining us on this journey. For those that have been playing the game consistently since launch, for those that stepped away and that decided to come back with the 1.1 update, there's a lot more coming. We're really excited about the future of the game, and we really appreciate you being here, having fun with us, giving us your feedback, and trying out the game. So please keep joining us. Leave a review on Steam. Let folks know if you're having fun with the game, because we'd love to have even more of you come and play, because this really is a strong passion for all of us. And I just also wanted to let you know that right now in the Steam store, we have a special bundle available for Age of Empires 4 with ARA History Untold. So if you wanted to expand your historical strategy gaming collection, this is a great time to do so with a good discount on both games if you buy them both together.
And thank you to our fans for watching. Subscribe for future content coming to the channel. Follow us on the social platforms of your choice and go explore ARA History Untold on Steam, Windows, or PC Game Pass. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.